In the golden age of Crete, where marble shone brighter than the sea, lived a man whose hands could shape the impossible. Daedalus, the master of invention. One small boy saw something greater, a spark. In their humble workshop, surrounded by sketches and candlelight, father and son built side by side. Night after night, they worked and dreamed, one chasing perfection, the other chasing the sky. By day, they wandered through gardens alive with color, where Icarus studied every bird and Daedalus whispered lessons of balance and patience. "Look to the wings of the swan," his father said. But Icarus was young, and the world was wide. And to a heart that brave, the sky was not a warning. It was an invitation. In the workshop, sunlight pooled across scrolls and gears. When the king of Crete summoned him once more, Daedalus brought forth his greatest design, a labyrinth so cunning it could hold even a monster captive. For men who can build miracles are men who can also escape them. Back in their workshop, father and son poured their souls into invention. The boy dreamed of flight, the father dreamed of freedom. Wonders beyond imagination filled the palace courts, creatures of bronze and steam that bowed to man's command. Daedalus's heart belonged not to kings, but to the boy beside him. But one night, the gears of fate began to turn. Soldiers marched to the beat of betrayal. By the king's decree, Daedalus and Icarus were to be sealed away, not for treason, but for brilliance too great to be free. And so began the chapter that would lift them higher than any man had ever flown, and remind the world how easily wings can burn. Days turned to shadows inside the tower walls. The world outside felt like a memory, and even genius could not bend the bars of fate. But Daedalus's strength was not in his hands. Icarus watched the sun sink into the sea, and in its light he saw not a prison, but the promise of a sky waiting to be touched. Daedalus began to collect what little freedom the wind could spare. A feather at a time, they built a dream, fragile, defiant, alive. From the flight of those birds came a vision, not of escape alone, but of wonder reborn. They studied the curve of wings, the rhythm of flight. The old man's hands worked, the boy's laughter returned. Together, they shaped silence into song. Wax and feathers became their language, and every thread they tied was a prayer to the wind. Night after night, Daedalus drew upon the stone. He melted the wax, binding feather to feather, turning frailty into freedom, crafting wings not from power, but from love. At last, the impossible stood before them, the dream made real, shining in the morning sun. Icarus could already feel it, the wind, the lift, the call of the heavens. He didn't see escape, he saw adventure. So together, they bound their wings with care. Daedalus turned to his son.
Too low, the sea will drown you. Too high, the sun will burn you.
At dawn, the wings were ready. The air was cool, the sea still sleeping. The world holding its breath for what was about to begin. Pride and fear tangled in his heart. "Follow my path," his eyes seemed to say, "neither too high nor too low." Then, with the courage of a father who dares to hope, Daedalus leapt first, a man taking flight against the will of the earth. And his son followed, rising, soaring, laughing. The prison fell away behind them, and the sky became theirs. For a moment there were no gods, no kings, only wind, sun, and freedom. Daedalus called out to him, "Stay close! Let the sea guide your wings." But the boy was already chasing light itself. The higher he rose, the smaller his father became, and the larger his dream. For in that fleeting moment, they were not man and boy, nor prisoner and child. They were the first to ever touch the sky. But Daedalus felt the air shift, that fragile balance breaking.
Icarus. No, you are flying too high.
The warmth that once lifted him now began to burn. The wax wept. He cried out for his son to return. He reached for him. Icarus feels the heat on his face, but his heart races with wonder, not fear. A single drop of wax slides down his arm, unnoticed. The feathers tremble softly, loosening one by one. A quiet warning from the heavens. Daedalus watches from below, eyes filled with dread. He calls out, but the wind steals his voice. For the first time, the sun feels close enough to touch. Feathers drift past his face like snow, soft and slow. He flaps harder, desperate, but the air slips through his fingers. The sun blazes all around him now, a crown of fire, a kiss too close. Then, silence. His body falls through clouds of gold, swallowed by the deep blue below. Beneath the waves, the boy who flew too high still drifts in light. And so, Icarus lives, not in the fall, but in the flight. Daedalus knelt, the sea wind at his back. He had given his son wings, but the sky had given him eternity. Daedalus alone by the fire, haunted yet peaceful. The moon and dawn framing his grief and remembrance. A man who had touched both wonder and loss. In his hand, a single feather. The final sunrise and dolphins suggest healing, life continuing, the world still beautiful. And in the golden air, he could almost hear laughter again. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more timeless tales from the Mythverse, where ancient legends meet new voices.